Hi, my name is Marcy. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to do a video which I'm not sure how I'm going to feel by the end of this video, but bear with me as I go through this and hopefully you learn something out of it. And it is mental health. So if this is a triggering subject for you, consider this your trigger warning that it is about mental health. It is about unaliving, and it is a sad story about a young person who had this. So if you are not in a position to listen to this at the moment because of what you're going through or because of any other reasons, just consider this the trigger warning, and then you can just either move on to the next video, or I'll see you when I'm talking about something happy. Promise to do something about puppies and cats soon. Okay, so recently I took a course on mental health first aid. The reason I took this was because I wanted to be the kind of person who adds value. I realized that with my job comes the responsibility where quite a few people come to me with their issues and they tell me what they're going through and things like that. And I tend to see a lot more of when people are not okay. And half the time I did not know whether I'm projecting or if they actually are not okay. I have been very open in this channel about my struggle with mental health and all the things that I went through. And sometimes I kept feeling like maybe I'm just looking for company. I'm looking at people and seeing what I want to see, but so I took this course because I wanted to be able to know the difference between when somebody is actually having a real crisis and when it's just normal. Of course, everybody is different, and of course, I learned a lot of tools about what to do, what not to do, what to avoid, what to look out for, and it's been really helpful. I've really enjoyed going through the book again and again and again, and I definitely will be doing the refresher and keep my certification up to date because I feel like every workplace actually does need people to do this. Funny enough, it took me about a year to actually decide to do this course. No, between the time I decided to do it and when I started doing it, it took me about a year. And I was battling with the issue of thinking, this is a HR thing. Why don't HR people do this? Why, for me, that's how it felt. And for me, it was the right time, and the right time came, and I did it. And I'm so glad I did it. And I'm actually glad I took long to do it, because by the time I was doing it because I thought a friend of mine was going through a burnout. So I wanted to specifically know what to look for when somebody's going through a burnout. Yes, I could have gone and web searched and everything, but I kind of wanted to learn from experts what to do. And so it was helpful for that. And I really loved the course. Okay, so bringing me to the topic of today. So last week, a lady in Kenya, a young lady in Kenya, who was a doctor, I think an intern, left work, went home, and she had roommates. She said hi to her roommates, and then she went and ended it all. The reactions have been varied. And of course, I spend way too much time on social media, and the reactions have been varied. And I think what the reactions showed, reactions tell you what society is like, I usually come here and tell you, oh, so this is what they say, that is what I think, and this is why they're wrong. But I think in this case, all reactions just show you when these kinds of things happen. I think it's the same with like when domestic violence happens and somebody ends up being unalived. I think it just shows you where society is, and it also shows you the privilege that some people have had where they've never had to deal with some things and we just don't realize it. Privilege is not such a bad thing, because some of these things I genuinely wish that people don't never have to go through them. I wouldn't wish for depression on anybody, but some people go through it. And unless you've gone through it, explaining, actually, even when you've gone through it, I've gone through depression. I've been medicated. I've gone through all that. I just can't explain it to somebody. If somebody asks me what is depression, I really don't know how to explain it. And sometimes I'm like, it's just sometimes my brain does what it feels like doing and my heart is doing what it feels like doing, and I just don't feel like getting out of bed. I just don't know how to explain it. And I think that's the case for some of the comments that I was seeing. And one of the comments that really got to me, and I don't think this person meant to be mean, but it did come out badly. So on LinkedIn, somebody put this post up and said that, the problem is work situations can be so toxic and people can have, because the suicide letter actually said that she was in a very toxic work environment. So it said, workplaces can be very toxic and people need to be careful about staying in a toxic work environment because it's not good for you. And, so she gave a very nice, well thought out thing and just said employers need to be careful. You can't just overwork people because they're interns and, and it always happens like that. The interns get overworked and all that. Then the comments start coming in. And of course, there are people who empathize, there are people who understand, there are people who are like, toxic work environments can be really horrible, and young people, of course, then there are always the people who are like, oh, these young people are so used to easy things, they don't know how tough life can be. So a little problem and they're out there going over the edge. But the answer that made me do this video was from a guy who said, so did unaliving herself solve the problem of the toxic work environment? And then he went on to write a full, very long paragraph about his day. Oh, I wake up at this time. I do this. I do this. I have not had a promotion in 4 years. I haven't had a pay rise in I don't know how long. And I'm still going and I'm still alive. What is her problem? And I was like, I try very hard on LinkedIn because it's a professional site. Every time I comment, my boss sees it. So I am trying to be polite. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to respond, as a mental health first aid, I'm going to respond. And I said, well, your situation is not her situation. You do not know what she was going through. You do not know the people she had talked to. You really have no way of knowing what solutions she had looked for. At that point in her life, she felt like that was the only option she had. Do you know, people who have attempted suicide will tell you, they did not do it for a selfish reason. The reason why most people, I can't say for everybody, but most people that have attempted suicide, when you talk to them, they will tell you they felt at that point that the world was better without them. Most people that I have talked to who attempted suicide, at that point, they felt like they were the problem. It is the least selfish thing they could do at that point. Many people look at suicide as a very selfish thing and they think, oh, so you did it because you were just thinking about yourself. But no, most of the time it is because the person is actually, they've reached a place where they feel like they are the problem. And if I get out, then maybe things would be better without me. I am the reason why things are not working out. And I don't know why, but people just generally think that it's, oh, they're so selfish. They're not thinking about their family. They're not thinking about what the pain they're leaving behind. They're not thinking about, oh, yes, they are. They are. And I'm thinking, I was, when I had this story the first time, I was like, I'm just imagining the pressure on a young doctor who's just graduated. I'm assuming, you start imagining, you start creating pictures. That's how my brain works. I just start creating pictures and scenarios. And can you imagine, maybe she's the one in her family who's graduated, and then all of a sudden you have, oh, we paid your school fees, now you have brothers and sisters that you have to pay school fees for. Okay, even if it's not that, all of a sudden you have all these people who, these expectations on you. And on top of that, you have the toxic work environment, and you can't talk to anybody because when you talk to them, you're always being told, and this is something that high achievers feel. You get lonely at some point because there are very few people that you can complain to. Every human being has a right to complain. The higher you go, the fewer the people you can complain to, because everybody will always make you feel like your problem is less just because you have. So even if she was complaining about the workload, someone, oh yeah, but come on, you've always been a bright girl. You can work it out. Yes, I mean, she went to medical school. Granted, she's a bright girl, but there are things that you're not prepared for in life. You can study as much as you want, but then all of a sudden you're here in front of human beings whose lives are in your hand. Yes, you know the theory. Yes, you know what you're supposed to do, but you don't know how that happens. You don't know how the reaction to the real work environment would happen. There's just nothing that prepares anybody for everything, like even people who are just married, they get married. I have these two friends who said something very funny, which I found weird, but then it's actually true when you think about it. They say that when they got married, the next morning they woke up and they were like, are we supposed to be acting different now? Are we supposed to be acting married? Or are we just supposed to continue acting the way we're supposed to be acting? And these are people who had gone through premarital everything and all that, and they had known each other for years. But nothing in this world prepares you for the reality of whatever it is you're preparing for. The same thing with being a mother, the same thing with being anything. You can never prepare yourself 100%. So it doesn't matter how intelligent this girl was, what everything was, just the work itself could have been something that is so different from what she had expected. Add that to, some people are just toxic. You would have some people who want to prove a point and they want to prove, oh, these Gen Zs cannot do anything, so I'm out here to show that these Gen Zs are useless. Then you would have somebody else. I mean, and if it's in Kenya, you would have tribalism, there are so many things. That just being a woman, being a woman is hard. Add that to being a woman. That's another problem. And then you don't know what was going on in her personal life. You don't know yes, boyfriends can also be a problem. You don't know what was going on in her family life. You don't know what was going on with anything. And yet, employers out there, no matter what they're expecting, somebody out there is just going to be okay. And then you hear comments like this from someone, because she's not there, so she did not see this comment. But I was reading that comment and just thinking, can you imagine? She probably went to somebody and somebody told her, oh, you're complaining about your job as a doctor? My God, you should hear what I go through. I have to wake up at this time. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And you're complaining about working 10 hours a day. You're complaining about working 12 hours a day. You're complaining about seeing someone dead. You're complaining about touching blood. Really? I had to do this and I had to do that and I had to do that. Oh, at least eventually you're going to be paid better. I'm never going to be paid as much as a doctor is ever going to make. These are all possible answers that she received because that is how society looks at it. You have no right to complain when you're a high achiever. The higher you go, the lonelier it gets. And it reaches a place where all these people who are high achievers, just it gets so lonely because everybody just thinks they have it so much harder than you. And if you're an empathetic person, you end up keeping it to yourself because who else am I going to tell? So either you surround yourself by people who are in similar situations and can understand. So I don't consider myself a high achiever, but I've achieved more than some people. But I have a few friends that I feel like I can float on. Most of the time, they cannot do anything to help. Most of the time, there is zero that they understand. Most of the time, they are not in a position to help me, but I can just unload on them because 90% of my circle, I can't tell them what I'm going through. Whatever I'm going through, I can't. I can't talk to them about it, either because I will feel like it's not a real problem, like it's more of a me being sensitive and something like that, or they will make me feel like that after I have talked to them because I will tell them about it and they will be like, oh, that's what you're complaining about. If I think I've given this in one of my mental health videos, but I'm going to finish with this. If your finger is hurting, my therapist, the very first time that I went to therapy, therapist told me this and told me, if your finger is hurting, no, if your nail is hurting, do not start saying, I'm not going to take care of my hurting nail because somebody else doesn't have an arm and I need to help the person with the arm. Take care of your nail that is hurting because if your nail gets infected, your finger gets infected, your hand gets infected, your arm gets infected, you will end up having to cut off that arm and then you're no help to that person who did not have an arm. So take care of yourself. That small thing that you feel like it's small, take care of it. Then you will be in a position to take care of those other people. And that is why you always need to have somebody, especially, and this video, I think when I started it, I didn't really know where it was going. I mean, that's all my videos. But if you come out of this with anything is those high achieving people, those people you feel in your family or in your workplace or, your friends who you feel like they have reached, they are the most intelligent, they have the best jobs, they have the money, they have the happy marriages, they have those people, they are the people who need people the most because they genuinely have no one. The higher you go, honestly, everybody keeps coming to you with their own problems and you have nobody to download your problem with. And I think one thing that I've learned in my work, and I think that's one of the advantages that I have in my line of work, is that I work with all these executives, and you can tell that being an executive is not fun because these people have everybody coming to them and they have to find solutions for everybody or fire them. But everybody comes to them and there's very little that they can, like either because of confidentiality or what, but they're just very little, like they're very limited to who they can talk to, and yet everybody can talk to them. So it can be dumped on them, but they cannot do the opposite. So that's the same thing with all high achievers and all people who are reached somewhere in their lives. And everybody has something that other people don't have, but other people don't. But sometimes when you have something that society considers successful, it becomes very lonely and it becomes very hard to be able to talk to people about your issues. So I hope that this video has encouraged you either to, one, take care of yourself if you are in what society would consider successful. Take care of yourself and just know your limits and know what you're supposed to do. Or two, if you have people in your entourage who are like this, reach out to them and tell them, you know what, I can be there. And three, if anybody ever comes to you with their issues, yes, even me, sometimes I judge people, but keep it to yourself. Keep it in your head. Just listen to them and keep it in your head. Your judgment, keep it in your head, because people don't just open up to anybody. Sometimes they have felt like you're the only person they could open up to. And you never know. Just you listening can just make them feel a little bit more human. And I feel like if this girl just had one person that you felt, okay, I can just be going to this person every day and just talk about my toxic work job and work day, and if only, maybe not, maybe this was going to happen in whichever way, but maybe, just maybe, I don't like the maybes. So let's just make sure that we don't have these maybes. Just be the person who makes sure that this maybe is something that's done. Okay, people, see you soon, and don't forget to subscribe. Loving the number going up, so keep subscribing and ring the notification bell. And I am trying. I mean, you cannot fault me. I have been posting at least every week. So see you all soon, and I promise it will probably be something cheerful about one of my adventures in Kenya. I keep promising this, but I will promise that I will do it. Thank you.